And good evening, everybody. Welcome to an all-new episode of Holotheatre. As always, I'm Dan Tartaglione, also known as D Tartag1 on forums, GEMP, everything. Joining me tonight from not the basement, but his basement, is Kendall Hallman, also known as Koran. How are you doing tonight, Kendall?
I'm doing all right. Doing all right.
I'm glad to see that you're giving up time in the basement and joining us on the show.
Yeah. We actually didn't play this week, but we played twice last week, so
Okay,
it's
see, lots of
makes up
basement
for it,
time.
I guess. Yeah.
And then our special guest tonight is one of the GEMP slicers. You know him as one of the guys who he does a lot on GEMP. He helps a lot with it. Devin Hubner. So thank you for joining us, Devin.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Uh, I'm glad to hear you. I'm glad to have you on. I mean, it's online play week, and what better week than to talk about GEMP and to highlight one of our unsung heroes of the website.
Oh, that's too kind. Thank you.
But before we get into our all of our interviews, talking about the GEMP, talking about Devin, let's go ahead with the news. There is some stuff that's going on in the Star Wars world. Let's start with the seventh, or I think it is the seventh GEMP PC. We're currently sitting in round three, with a few players sitting in round four. Both Joe Olson and Chris Kelly advanced to the fourth round. Ryan Jelson is currently waiting on Kieran and Eric Spixma. Let's see the winner of those. Pat Johnson versus Mike Kessling. I hear that they're going to be going on right during this show, so pay attention to the show, and you can watch these games afterwards. And then we have Jeremy DePaulo versus Brad Kipple. Greg Shaw versus Kuhn. Matt Harrison Trainer versus Connor Britton. That's a interesting enough. Matt Harrison Trainer versus Connor and Chris Kelly versus Joe Olson are rematches from the Champions League's top four. So definitely interested in seeing some of those matches. Dennis Reinhardt is waiting on Kyle Kruger and the Bat Mouse. And then Mike Turner versus Charlie Arlinson. And Tom Struther is waiting for the winner of Justin Branch versus Kyle Kalin. So still got a lot of matches to go before we get into our top eight. And then, like I said, once we get into our top eight or the fifth round, we'll start streaming a lot of the games through the GEMP PC until we get our one winner. And then, speaking of winners, looking in on the February OCS, right now we have a three-way tie sitting at 10-2, including Casey, Tom, and Jeff Levine. But right behind them is Greg Shaw sitting at 10-1, and Ryan Jelson sitting at 9-1. So both of those guys, Greg with one game left, Ryan with two, have decent chance at making sneaking past Casey, Tom, and Jeff.
You know who that one loss, that Greg Shaw's one loss was?
Who? Well, I will say this.
Pointing at myself.
I was going to say nobody can see this, Kendall.
Well, you could. I was pointing at myself.
I wasn't seeing
now
it.
You can see it. You could have seen it. We're on a Zoom call.
We
It's
are on
video
a Zoom call, but I have more important stuff over in front of your face.
Yeah. It was a tough game, but yeah, I got
well, good job. I mean, I know Greg is probably cursing you right now, saying, "Why did I have to lose to Kendall one time?"
Yeah, well, yeah, not the first time. I think that's the second time I've beaten him actually, but
that's a call out.
No, it is definitely not a call out. I'm sure he has beaten me dozens of times.
Kendall Holman, everybody, you've heard it. Kendall Holman calling out Greg Shaw, saying that he's beaten Greg more than once.
Yeah, I mean, he was playing 0 Hour. He was playing 0 Hour versus Bring Him Before Me. He didn't. Yeah, that's a rough matchup for me. And I think like he kept drawing ones and I kept drawing sixes or something. Like I had all the luck.
Maybe he should have played Hitco.
Ah.
But moving on, right now we have only a handful of players signed up for Nationals. Again, Nationals is going to be March 31st through April 2nd. Charlie, Ryan, Carl, Matt, Thornton, and Tom all signed up for the full weekend, while Connor Britton is signed up just for the main event. Kendall, are you going?
What, Nationals?
Yeah.
Yes. We got it's gonna be me, Travis, and Carl all riding down together. Booked to the hotel room like last weekend or something. So yeah, it's I'm excited. It's
Well,
gonna be lots of fun.
You better go. You got to defend your team tournament.
Yeah, so yeah, that's what's gonna happen is because there's no team tournament. So Carl's gonna win the cube event, and I'm gonna win the retro event. That's the plan.
Okay.
So we can defend our
I
title.
want to see it. And then right now we're in the smack dab of the middle of online play week. Again, make sure that you guys send over some replays as well as some other information, including a brief description of the game that you played, your first and last name, and your mailing address to get an AI foil holographic Lord Sidious and an AI foil holographic Master Windu. Again, you have until March 11th to make sure that you guys get those over to Jared, and then he'll put all the stuff in the mail, and you'll get a notification that that you're getting a package from the one and only Brian S. And you got 1 month left until less than a month with the donation program, so make sure you guys sign up. Give some money to the PC. Get yourself some deck boxes. This is the only way this year to get these cool deck boxes. So definitely get some donations flowing so that way you can support all the live broadcasts that we do, that we can pay our slicers their fair share of for all the work they do on GEMP, and get Kendall more team tournament trophies. Okay, so that's the end of the news. So why don't we go into our interview with Devin? So Devin, this is your first time on the show. I don't know if a lot of people know who you are. You're one of those people that does a lot of work behind the scenes, especially on GEMP. So why don't we hear about like what got you into Star Wars the game? Back originally.
Yeah, so I first got into the game back in 1994, right, with Premiere. My buddy John and I, we bought the little Premiere decks at our local game shop, and we went home and tried to figure out how to calculate attrition on our kitchen table. I still don't think I know how to calculate it correctly. In fact, I know I don't know how to calculate it correctly. But that's maybe what makes me excited. Yes, well, that's one of the things that got me really excited about GEMP, is it takes that off the table for me. But yeah, so I got involved playing that. I remember buying a Premiere Darth Vader for $75 off of eBay. Way back in the 90s. And that was fantastic because I had to one up my buddy. and it it served me well. And back then Decipher had this program called Squadrons.
Yeah.
And it was a program to promote the game, really. And they wanted people who were geographically located around the country to, promote it to their local game shops, promote it to, just get people playing it, really. And so if you attended the re-release of Star Wars back in the 90s in Keene, New Hampshire, you would have received those red leader and gold leader Star Wars cards, courtesy of me. So I was red 14.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow.
If you can see that.
Nice.
There you go.
I'm glad to see that you still have that.
I do. Yeah, they give us a stack of cards, to I don't know, prove that we were real and authentic. And they sent us a big stack of those gold leader, yellow leader cards and said, or red leader, and said, hey, pass these out. So that seemed like the right venue to do it. And I don't know if anybody actually started playing it because of it, but that's where my stack of them went to. But yeah, I stopped collecting the game around Dagobah.
Okay.
But I sort of I don't know, lurked for a long time, we'll say that. And I got back involved with the players committee around 2019. Might have been earlier than that. I don't remember it honestly at this point. But it was completely self-serving. I wanted to download the cube lists from the site.
Okay.
I was going to get together with my old buddy John, and I said, "Hey, this is a great opportunity. We'll play some Star Wars card game. It'll be fantastic." Very, very retro and nostalgic fulfilling. But the website wasn't up. I couldn't download the lists. Or if it
Okay.
did stay up, or if it was up for moments, and then it would just instantly go down again. And so I reached out to the powers that be and I said, hey, do you need help getting the website to be online? Because that's one of my powers.
They said yes.
And they said yes.
I would hope, yeah, I mean,
And so I know a lot about hosting on the cloud. So I got to work migrating all of our stuff off of our legacy platform, the website, the store, things like Scomp, VKit.
oh wow.
I moved them all over to a new hosting platform. GEMP was already on the cloud hosting platform, so I didn't really have to do anything with that. But everything else, I brought it over, and that's and the forums, of course. Who can forget the forums?
Me.
So we got all that stuff and we put it up in GitHub so anybody can contribute to it.
Okay.
And that's really where I got back involved, is just trying to, I guess, be the Wizard of Oz behind the scenes, making sure that all the websites and everything stay online. And you said that not a lot of people know who I am. That's a good thing, right? That means that I've done my job well, that you don't know who I am.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think you'd rather be the guy, like in sports. You don't want to hear from the refs. You don't want to know who the refs are because they're doing the right thing. Like it's better to know like somebody like Chris Kelly or Jared versus
That's right.
yourself.
And that's really it, right? I create the ability for those fine folks to really do their job and create the game, and that the rest of us get to play, right? I mean, that's really it. I like to play. I have a weekly game. I play with my buddy John still.
Okay.
And it's like I said, it's completely self-serving, right? It's all up on GEMP. He's in Nebraska. I'm here in Maine, and so we're able to get together and have our weekly game. It's an interesting experience for me because if I try out a deck that I've put together and I feel pretty good about it, I can play against I don't know, a real player, and I'll lose within 3 turns. But if I play against my old buddy John, it's a 3-hour game. So it's a weird juxtaposition to live in that world. But I really, really enjoy it. It's a great time. I look forward to it every week.
See, and that's great that you keep it going with your weekly game with a friend of yours, even though you guys are so far apart. I think, if memory serves me, you might be one of the only players in Maine that I can think of.
That I could be one of the only official players in Maine. I'm maybe one of the only ones that's willing to admit it. We'll say that, or write their name down on the list.
Yeah. So you said you started with Premiere and everything, but you started collecting in Dagobah. What made you stop in Dagobah?
There was nothing specific about it that made me stop, I'll say. I told you I bought Darth Vader on eBay. I bought the Executor on eBay too. My singular goal in the game was always to beat John. So
I love it.
I've always played dark side right from those days, and I play it now. And then he's always played light side. So we've had a very, very balanced, I don't know, 30-year duel. But I don't want to say there's anything specific about Dega that made us stop. Just maybe the lack of Star Destroyers or lack of, maybe not enough walkers or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I would suppose that at that point in history, probably more money than anything else. I was just about going to
Mm-hmm.
college at that point, and that's I didn't have the disposable income then that I
Mm-hmm.
to buy a lot of cards. And where John was the only guy I was playing against, there wasn't a huge amount of motivation to buy them either.
So,
But
and you were saying like you got back into the game because you wanted to do the cube. Have you now? Have you printed out the cube? Do you have like a physical copy, or is it just strictly online?
I never actually ended up printing the physical copy. It was always something I wanted to do, but I
Mm-hmm.
just never got to do it. And then pandemic happened, so that kind of put the whole thing on hold for me.
Just got to talk to Scott. I mean, Scott and Jared. I mean, I think they can easily get you one of the physical copies of the cube. Now we've have different iterations of the cube. We have, I know, Jonathan Murray out in Georgia. He created a different copy of it. Have you checked out that one at all?
I haven't looked at any of the new ones, to be honest. And
Okay.
if I have an idea of the cube I want to make in my head for my grand like in-person rendezvous or reunion with my
Mm-hmm.
friends, and it's basically the all Jawa deck, um, where basically you can pick any card you want as long
Mm-hmm.
as it's the Jawa. And part of that, I have to admit, is because I want to play with some people that never played with us in the past, and I want to make it
Okay.
a simple entry to them. Like, look, you know, this deck is easy to play. There are a modest 20 Jawas in it. All you got to do is, just play that, and you'll be all right.
I mean, isn't that a little difficult because you're limiting to? I mean, the Jawas have some weird texts. Like,
They do.
so I mean,
But as long as you hang out in Tatooine, it all works out fine. It
true.
basically, you put some restrictions around it that like you must be on Tatooine, you must deploy to Tatooine, and no other locations, right? No other
Mm-hmm.
systems, no other sites. It's Tatooine or nothing, and that works out well.
Okay, so
And then of course you can just always Ellis Hallrot yourself over to, some other location after you've deployed to Tatooine.
now have you seen a lot of like? Have you played with any of the virtual cards at all?
Oh yeah, no, we play with all the virtual cards all the time. Yeah, yeah, every week. I love those.
Wait. Hold on. So you can move. So you can deploy non-Tatooine sites, or
Um, yes is officially the answer
okay,
there, right?
okay. So
Yeah.
so can you docking bay transit too?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Okay.
100%.
So okay.
The problem is like, how do you take, 20 Jawas and move them, or well, maybe 10, and move them in a hurry, right?
Right.
Without spending the world's supply of force that you don't have.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I guess you could. Well, I mean, there's strategy here, but it seems like because you could. Well, I guess it's like where the point is. What you're saying is there's less value in that. Like even if you're moving to the 3-2 on Naboo, like you could move
Right.
there, but it would be so much work when there's probably a drain of 2 sites on Tatooine.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly, right.
I mean, you got the Cantina. I mean, have you seen a bunch of Jawas in the Cantina before, Kendall?
And can you? Well, but also you wouldn't need to move. But okay, if you're talking Nabrin, then you so you wouldn't need Nabrin or first aid combo or whatever to transport. You wouldn't need to move a whole pile of them because your opponent can't deploy to that site, right? So
to the Cantina?
no, to like to the 3-2 to the generator core. So you play the generator core, and then you Nabrin one Jawa over there, and then you get to force drain there, and until they can find their Ellis, they can't contest you there, right? That's how that works, right?
Yeah, technically that is true, but I consider that style of play in bad faith. I always give a really big frowny face to my opponent when he does that. I'm like, okay, that's fair.
I understand.
100% accurate, but I'm over here,
Look, I am all about like games are broken. I mean, it just seems to me like it would be easier to just ban all non-Tatooine locations. Why even have the non-Tatooine locations available?
That's fair.
I mean, if you think about it, like out of the 9 movies, Tatooine was one of the major locations for. I mean, I think you saw Tatooine in
5 movies. It's in 5 movies.
5
of the Skywalker saga.
Yeah,
it's in all 3 prequels and A New Hope and Jedi.
You're right. Yeah, I was trying to think if it was on episode 3, but yes, at the very, very, very end when Obi-Wan shows up with baby Luke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, Greg Zinn is in the chat saying Jakku was fake Tatooine.
That's
true, right?
You're not wrong.
It's not Tatooine at all.
Jakku has a different personality, though. The fact that like more Star Wars systems aren't just also Tatooine, like
the sand on Jakku flows to the right instead of to the left.
Well, I just feel like if you're talking about a galaxy of planets most of those planets that are inhabitable are going to be just barely inhabitable. So you're going to have, and in my headcanon, this is totally headcanon, but like what we see of Tatooine is like that's the nicest area. Like that's that's like Tatooine, Canada. Like, because if you go, because then if you go closer to the, like, that's the temperate zone is that, and then if you go down south towards the equator, it's just completely unlivable. Yeah. Whereas Hoth, where they land on Hoth, in my head canon, that's the equator.
Okay.
So like that's why you have planets that are defined by one topographical feature, because the rest of the planet, and also that's why they can be like, I tracked him to Tatooine, now I'm gonna park my ship and get out and look on foot, like because these planets don't have,
because there are only 3 cities on the entire planet.
Right, yeah. Exactly, because it's mostly not inhabitable. I mean, you have planets like Naboo and Alderaan and Coruscant that are probably closer to Earth in their climates, but like Camino, like that's all, it's all ocean and all rainy and stuff. Like the storms in certain areas, like you just couldn't even build structures there. That's all. It's all headcanon. But what were we talking about?
Joe was on Star Wars cards. We were talking about Star Wars cards. You know that Tatooine was a glassed planet. Like aliens came down and glassed it at one point. That's why it's a desert planet, right, Kendall?
Is that
it's canon.
It's in the comics.
Yeah.
It's in the comics. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Rakata, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Good comic, actually.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that. It's probably Legends though now.
Yeah.
Nope.
No, it's still canon?
It's still canon.
Really?
From where? Where has it appeared in canon then?
Yeah, I thought that all of that old Dark Horse stuff was Legends.
Anything that's Dark Horse is Legends. So if it's canon, it has to appear somewhere in the canon. So where?
I'll find it out after the show. I'll check my sources. We do have a question.
It lives on in canon. It's in my heart. That's
that too. We do have a question from Greg Zinn, the rules advocate. He wants to know, what are some of the best V cards that have shown up? And are there any abusive strategies that you've had to either ban or make an agreement not to do?
I don't know if I would define it as a V card, but it is a sort of a V card. And the best one, Jawa related, is Off-World Jawas. I hate that card so much.
You know who to blame.
Like I say, I always play dark side, right? So my buddy, he plays light side, and Off-World Jawas is his strong ally on the light side of the Force. It's an amazing card. It really is. I mean, you get the whole 3 weapons. It's not super powerful. It's only power of 3, but I mean, when your Jawas are power of 1, hey, that adds up fast.
Mm-hmm. And it draws if unable to otherwise, right?
Right, and and that's the kicker with that one, right? you draw a battle destiny if you're not able to otherwise.
Well, so
Not only that, but here's the real power of this one, right? So Jawas on the light side don't have great weapons. This is the truth of it, right? I mean, they have the ion cannon, whatever. But the off-world Jawas have the ability to search your opponent's reserve deck and make them lose one device or one weapon. And this is a win-win because if you can't find a device or weapon, they have to lose one force. So there you go. Now you play that with Utkik, and Utkik has the ability to steal a vehicle, a character weapon, or a device from a lost pile. So off-world Jawas are sitting there getting rid of my weapons into the lost pile. Utkik pulls them out, and then suddenly I find that those off-world Jawas have been deployed with my weapons.
So what I'm hearing is the Jawa Council made a card specifically to hurt you.
Yes, it's such.
I believe that card was designed before the Utini format was made.
Well, what I'm thinking is we need to get a dark side off-world Jawas or something equivalent, so that way our good friend Devin here can play with something that good.
Yeah.
Now, what kind of dark side Jawas would you want to see?
Oh man, you know what I would love to see? I know exactly the answer to that. See, there are pilots today. There are pilot Jawas, and there are cards that will turn Jawas into pilots, right?
Yep.
And I would love to see one that turns somebody into a bounty hunter, right? Because if you could do that, then there are certain objectives that you can take advantage to, right? Like I could take Han Solo, or I could take my enemy's Jawas, and I could capture them, and I could take them to the Sarlacc pit, and I could drop them in there, right? But because I don't have a bounty hunter Jawa, I can't do anything with that.
You would like to hear about a friend of mine in a D&D type Star Wars campaign created a Jawa bounty hunter that uses a flak cannon.
Oh wow,
and
that's awesome.
The character's name was Nartini.
Nartini.
So if I ever get a card that's allowing me to use that, and if I could find Nartini somewhere in the Star Wars lore, I would love to make Nartini into an EPP Jawa with flak cannon.
That'd be so great.
That's just that's just a dream of mine.
And he gets to fire during your control phase, right?
Obviously.
So for the record, the glass stuff is all legends. It mentions it in the Legends Wikipedia article. It does not mention it in the canon Wikipedia article.
Killing me here, Kendall.
Look, I'm just right.
Give Dave Filoni a little bit of time. He'll bring it back. It'll be fine.
Yeah,
maybe.
It's all coming back.
Eventually.
We will be made whole. It'll be fine.
So let's get into some nuts and some bolts about GEMP. So you said that you got into just helping with the websites and everything. So how did you get into helping out with GEMP?
So, in my real life, I'm a Devops consultant, and that's just a fancy way of saying that I help companies automate their cloud workloads.
Okay.
And so I mentioned earlier that we put all of our source code up into GEMP, GitHub, so that anybody can contribute to it.
Mm-hmm.
And so part of that is when you contribute to GitHub, maybe that contribution is a new card image.
Okay.
Right? Well, you don't want to have the requirement of me or Greg or somebody else to have to upload that for you. Wouldn't it be great if that could automatically flow up to our content delivery network? And so that's the kind of automation I built out, is those automated image resizing and automated delivery up to the content delivery network. And so I built some of that kind of stuff for GEMP itself.
Okay.
And that Git repository that we store all the source code for GEMP in. So the other thing I wanted to do was make some mild auto improvements to the interface. So if you've gone into the interface, I'm responsible for doing things like I made the format rules page, the leagues page, the deck validator, and I made it so you could change the different background patterns during a game. high importance stuff. But so that's really how I got involved contributing to the source code of GEMP.
Okay.
Was one to handle the more DevOpsy automated parts of it, and then also to tweak some of the interface settings. But all of the tweaking of the interface settings, that was the price I paid so that I could get Utini into the game.
I love how the goal is to make Utini.
Yes, I was, like I said, completely self-serving. That was my entire focus, was I'm going to get this Utini format in the game. And so I did all that stuff to make it happen. But no, so yeah, we've got a lot of little other changes that we've been working on as well, and part of that is just to try to, again, scale the game. If the game goes down, if it crashes, that's just a bad time for everybody, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, who wants that?
What can you do to make sure that my internet doesn't go down in the middle of a GEMP game? That's what I want to know.
Well, I'll tell you. So one of the projects we've been working on is to make it so the game server can scale. Today, we run GEMP on, shocker, one host, just one. So if it goes down, it goes down for everybody. Well, if the next time you play a GEMP game, notice the URL, pay attention to it, and you'll notice that the game ID is a long random string of characters. Well, once upon a time, maybe 6 months ago, 9 months ago now, it was just a number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that kind of thing. Now it's a random ID number. And so that random ID number allows us to potentially have more than one GEMP server in the back end. So incoming request comes in and says, oh, the ID number starts with a 5, routed over here. ID number starts with a 7, routed over here. And so suddenly we've gone from 1 server to 10 servers, just by the virtue of changing that incoming URL to be unique. So that kind of stuff will allow us in the future to allow your game to stay isolated on your server. And so when somebody plays Walkling or something and, drains the entire server of its memory over here, that host restarts automatically and your game continues uninterrupted.
Okay. So, but what if my internet goes down?
Oh yeah. Well, you can fall back to your cell phone.
Or you could move out of Ohio and find a place that actually has good internet.
Yeah.
No, my internet
to Maine.
Is,
I don't
my
have
internet is fine. It's just that once a day it goes down for like 2 minutes.
Once a day?
Yeah.
Wow.
You're pulling in too much internets.
Look, I'm not in charge. I mean, I'm sure it happens. I'm sure it happens with a lot of people. It's just that because I remote into my work and then I'm on the internet all night, when it goes down for like just a few seconds, like everything freaks out,
Well, there's your answer right there.
What?
You're hogging all the internet.
I'm hogging all the internet?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess
There's only so much internet flowing to Ohio, You can't take it all for yourself.
Okay. Well, I'm going to need you to work on that.
That one is beyond my abilities.
Okay. Well, look, I'm content creator of the year, so I'm just saying.
That should count for something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You got your award. You got your stuff that it counts for.
You just call up your internet service provider and say, "Don't you understand who I am? I'm someone of some importance."
I'm the 2021 Nalhutta regional champion.
I thought it was by default.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
It means that you win if no one else shows up.
Yeah.
No, there were 6 people at that event.
So Devin, what made you decide to go with this Utini Jawa format? And
so, yeah, go ahead. Finish your question. Sorry.
So, can anybody play?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. Yes, they can.
There's a format on GEMP.
There is a format on GEMP. So basically, what it comes down to is my buddy John and I, like to say, we have a weekly game, and we like to play very focused decks. So Trench Run, Battle of Hoth, Trade Federation versus Republic, usually, it's space themed empire versus space themed um, rebellion, and the whole point of it is just that we find it, at least I personally find it more enjoyable to play a deck that is designed to play against another deck. And now the great thing about Jawas, so we went through all the tropes like during the pandemic, right? So we played the Senate, and dived deep on the Senate and learned all about the ways to abuse that system and actually play next door to the Senate and try to fire into it, and all that kind of fun stuff. But but we finally arrived at Jawas, and because we realized, there are actually a lot of Jawas in the game, and if you put some rules in place that, like, well, you can only deploy on Tatooine because you have to. The fun fact about Jawas is that yes, for the most part they can only deploy on Tatooine, but the generic Jawas, they require a force from your side and your opponent's side, and that is a killer if you are not deploying at places like Tatooine. So we put rules in place that said basically there must be force on both sides of the card. It has to be light and dark. None of this, 2-0 kind of stuff. And Tatooine makes a lot of sense because there are locations like Jawa Camp that allow you to just deploy with a force from only your side of the table. So there are little benefits there. And like I say, most of the Jawa cards are really specific to Tatooine. You can move other places in the galaxy and have some fun with that, but really you want to be on Tatooine to have a good time. And so we found that the Jawa decks, more so than almost any other, maybe clones versus droids, but really the Jawa decks are very well balanced. There is almost the exact same equivalent Jawa on both sides of the Force, with some small variations, right? Like the weapons are better on the dark side, I have to admit, than they are on the light side when it comes to Jawas. But otherwise, it's almost exactly the same. So you are playing the same chess game, very evenly stacked up. Unless you have off-world Jawas on the table, then it all gets screwed up.
Ban it.
Does anybody ever play inserts?
Oh, I don't know.
Because you got a lot of Destiny 3 Jawas, and there's a few that are not Destiny 3. Seems like you could build your deck with all Destiny 3 Jawas and then run inserts. And then
you know what my buddy John does? You know what my buddy John does is he uses the hand grenade, the thermal detonator.
Oh, okay.
And he throws it. He'll just basically YOLO it, be like, "Utini," and throws it. And then, because the way the thermal detonator works, right, is if you pull the same destiny number as the people deployed at the same site, the people with that destiny number are all dead. But the destiny number on a Jawa tends to be the same number as the number on a Jawa. So you pull a Jawa, boom, you've wiped out everyone at that site.
Jawa side.
It's Jawa side. Yeah, it's an amazing chaos factor, and it's a fantastic modifier. But there are no dark side thermal detonators like that, so that's a light side power move, so to speak.
Wait, there's a dark side thermal detonator.
Is there?
Yeah, because there's the light side concussion grenade.
Yeah, I mean, there's only thermal detonator is a dark side card.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm remembering it incorrectly.
Well,
I know that I can't play the equivalent card that he can. Yeah, that's right. Concussion grenade. You're right. It's concussion grenade, not thermal detonator. I look at the picture and that says grenade in my head every time.
Okay, well, you should be playing thermal detonator if you want to do that, because that's what thermal detonator does.
Yep.
Except for thermal detonator is better, I think.
More Jawa side.
Thermal detonator use 3 forces to deploy. Oh, you have to deploy it on a bounty hunter. That's why.
That's it. There it is. That's why I want the bounty hunters. I want to be able to. Yep.
Well,
and in the legacy cards, there is a card that will turn any character into a bounty hunter.
Yep, Gurgle mentioned that in the chat.
Yeah. So I've put in a feature request for that card to make a comeback. I think it could be amazing.
Or we just make a bounty hunting Jawa.
Or you make a bounty hunting Jawa. That works for me well.
You're the tech guy. Just program it into GEMP and make it legal in Utini.
Well, there are a few
legacy cards in GEMP.
Well, there's a few stages to get through before you get a card up into GEMP, right? You can't just slip your own in.
I mean, I don't know. look, I don't know how any of this stuff works, but my understanding is that anybody can program a card into GEMP.
That's overselling it. I've sat down one day. So there is a Jawa um, that is not on the dark side.
Okay.
Or I'm sorry, he is on the dark side, but he's not in GEMP. He's not available. And
Okay.
I thought I need more Jawas.
It's the Trader of Jawa Canyon, right?
That's him, yes, Trader of Jawa Canyon. And so I sat down and I said, how hard can it be? It's super hard.
Why is this Jawa hard?
Oh,
it also might be that he's not programmed into GEMP because he's not easy to program.
That's really it. Yeah.
Now,
I mean,
I don't know
there are easy things to do in GEMP,
to...
like, check to see if he has a weapon, check to see if he adds a battle destiny. This guy, he's got some fun features that
I'm just saying,
at least today, beyond my capability.
Look, you could probably take a couple weeks off work and do your read a textbook.
I'm sure my wife will love that, right? I'm gonna take all of this year's vacation time so I can program this one Jawa card into GEMP.
You know what?
I mean, look, if you're not going to majors, I don't know what else you're using your vacation time for.
What I'm hearing is Kendall will gladly supplement all the money that she would lose by programming this in.
I said vacation time. I'm not asking you to take. Oh, look, I am not asking you to take one more day than you have allotted for vacation. All I'm asking is that you don't go on vacation the rest of the year. I feel
unless
like
it's for Jawas.
Compromise.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, Kendall. I think you should compensate him for this.
Look. If you come out to Ohio for an event, your entry is free.
Does that go for anybody?
No. Just Devin.
Only those that will add Jawas to the card game.
Yeah, that actually.
Didn't I just say that I would gladly make a new Jawa?
Anybody who programs a card into GEMP, I will definitely any card. If you program one card into GEMP, your entry to any Ohio event is free.
Okay.
Yeah, GEMP is an amazing service. It really is. I mean, the fact that it can calculate what it can calculate. I mean, I can't figure out how to do attrition, but somehow it can. And it always surprises me. Right when I think I'm understanding how attrition works, I'm like, I finally have it. I finally got it. It's just like, no, by the way, your attrition is now 20. I'm like, it is?
Apparently.
Okay. So it's an amazing system.
You understand how it works. You probably just forgot a card.
Probably. I'm willing to admit that.
Because
there's always some card just doing something out there on my table that I missed.
Yeah, even I will be like, okay, I'm expecting my battle destiny to be 7, and then it'll say 9, and I'll be like, okay. I don't know what that other 2's from. Usually I can figure it out.
But I'll take it. Yeah. GEMP is written in Java, right? And so Java, just like the coffee. So it's a programming language. Built originally by Sun Microsystems, now owned by Oracle. So if people out there know Java and are interested in learning how to create cards, and we can always use that help on the GEMP system for sure.
Awesome. Well, being that this is an episode revolving around Jawas, Houdini, and all the fun stuff, we got a little special treat for all you viewers tonight. The three of us compiled a list of our top 5 Jawas. So we're going to start off with Kendall, and you can discuss your list, tell them why they're on your list, whatever. Garrett is asking how my game against Kendall in the Corellia League went. I'm going to plead the 5th on that one. You can answer it, Kendall, if you want.
It was rough. It was rough. Dan played Revolution in his deck.
Oh,
Revolution, Gunite.
Yeah. I used 2 shields on Revolution and Gunite.
Sense.
And I had this. And then I did do a Sense shield and grabber. I just figured I could just push through, and I did. I got through your harvest strategy. Like I grabbed harvest, so you couldn't do shenanigans with that. It was your second Nabrin that I did cancel, but you sensed the canceller, and my canceller was Gick. I don't know. I think I took I should have been more aggressive in the game, but it was a rough loss. I felt like an idiot. I got drunk. I bought magic cards, and yeah.
Resigned yourself to never play Star Wars again.
Well, then I had like the best game ever in my OCS game versus Squirlock. He was playing Rops, and I was playing There's Good in Him. I got 2 cards stacked on Field of Conflict, and then he deployed Vader, and so Luke was on Vader, and I managed to get 1 more battle win in, and then he flipped, and once Rops flips and spreads and stuff, like I just couldn't get another battle win in, and he was draining me out until I finally was able to find a 6. But it was the best moment because I had no other path to victory, and then I was able to. So Star Wars cards. So
Kendall.
Dan almost made me quit, but then Steve got me back in it. Steve Squirlock he's a great guy. If you guys don't know him, he's an Indiana guy. He's a great guy. So number 5 on my list was the old-fashioned Premier Jawa. It's just iconic. It confuses people when they first play the 2-player game because both players have to use a force, and it's got the asterisk, and everybody's like, "What does the asterisk mean?" And I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So am I doing the whole list or just
doing the whole list? We're going yours. Okay. Oh wait. There we go.
Okay.
Number 4.
Number 4, we've got Dero. Technically Dero virtual, I guess. I mean, I have to have him on the list because because there's only so many Jawas, and he's the only playable Jawa in real time in real games.
You say that.
He shows up in my court deck, even though I'm never happy to see him. But he's there, and he does his job sometimes. Sometimes he finds a key droid when you need him. He's one of the answers to Leia Rebel Princess.
Yeah.
And if you're mad at him, well, sometimes you can make your opponent hit him with a lightsaber, so that's always good. Then we've got what's his name, Hero of the Dune Sea, which I don't even know what he does, but I just think he's got a cool name.
Deploys only to Tatooine. Jawa weapons deploy free on him. When firing, one may add 3 to the total weapon destiny just drawn. When he is playing Dune Sea Sabak and wins, he wins double.
Yeah, whatever that means. Something about clone cards.
Utinis.
Yeah, but yeah, he's cool. Kellett, for a gajillion years, I wanted to make a good competitive Jawa deck, and I love all the lords from Jabba's palace. He's your Jawa lord. I love that he makes Jawa Siesta non-unique and doubled, so you can play like 3 of them, and then your Jawa's forfeit are all like forfeit 8. That's a lot of fun. And of course, number 1, the Jawas based on the best episode of The Mandalorian. The season 1, episode 2, the Off-World Jawas.
Boo.
It's one of 2 cards that I helped design, and it's the one that doesn't have my name on it. So that's, is what it is. But it's a sea slip, which always love sea slips. I love that image on Jawa Siesta. And they are like, I feel like there's a deck out there where they're playable, whether they're, like they're good enough that if there was a good Light Side Aliens deck, you could make the argument to put them in there, and I'm pretty happy about that. Plus they're not unique, so like that makes it so that they could, if we had a time where there was a a good Jawa deck, they definitely would show up in there. I'm really happy with the way they turned out.
Okay, so that was Kendall's list. Pretty good list, minus the number one.
Wait, you don't like the off-world Jawas now?
Nope.
Okay.
Because it's a C-slip.
Oh.
If it was a full image, I would love it.
I think there's an AI of it, isn't there?
I don't think so. I don't think so,
Really?
Kendall. Okay, so my top 5. Number 5, Alfred Lund. The only reason I like him and the only reason he's number 5 is because of during your control phase, you may search your reserve deck and take one Utini or a Jawa from it. I think if you're going to play a Jawa deck, he is the one to build around because you can get a Jawa during your control phase and you can get Utini to play Utini to cancel a force drain at a Tatooine site or to cancel control. That's amazing. Plus, I mean, just saying Utini is just fun. Okay, number 4 is Ritik Hawi. Playing him with Broken Concentration, I liked it back in the day. Plus, a Jawa that is in memory of Eric White. Nothing against, like, you can't beat that. Like, having a Jawa represent like a player who is no longer with us is just really, I like that. Number 3 is Herat. If you know, you know. Yeah, what more can we say about Herat at this point? And then number 2 is Gero. I'm a big fan of CCT. It's one of my favorite decks. So having that to and play it just makes me happy. Being able to fish out IG-88, hopefully on turn 2, and then setting up the deck and everything just means a lot to me. But my number 1 Jawa, it has to be the Premier Jawa. Like, these little guys started it all.
They're powerful too. Like, stack really, really well. You know, you get enough of those guys together, you'll find yourself with 3 Jawas in a power of 11. You know, like just from 3 wee little Jawas.
Yeah.
They pack a punch.
Okay, Devin. Now it is your turn for your top 5 Jawas.
My top 5 Jawas. Yeah, I really love Arctic Wii. Like you say, you know, when you play a Jawa-based deck, you don't always pull a lot of force. Plus, you have to use force from your opponent's pile. So they're going to leave force out on the table that they intend to use, and you're going to leave force out. Well, Arctic Wii can use force from your opponent's pile. So you can effectively shut them down. You might be able to deploy that Sandcrawler you didn't think you'd have enough force for. He's a great character, very powerful. You know, Herat, I love this guy. You could take a Jawa into hand from your reserve deck, you know, and when you're playing a Jawa-based game, and, you know, the faster you can get Jawas out, the better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Gero, again, you're right, he's a fantastic character, but the power for me of Gero, he's a pilot. So I can throw Gero on Slave 1, I can throw him on, you know, any of the other ships that are out there, and suddenly I've got opportunities opening up where I can actually control Tatooine airspace, and I can combine that with something like Suns Down, and then I can maybe take those security droids that are almost useless otherwise, and suddenly I've got extra power at every site, and I have a really great character I can forfeit who's not a Jawa.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting combo. Yeah, anybody who's got an ability other than, you know, their stock abilities is valuable to me. Zero definitely fits that bill. Witten's great. You know, if you plant him over at the audience chamber, plant him at Jawa camp, and he gives all your Jawas +2 power, super valuable, right? And then number 1 for me is Nebbit. You know, adds 1 battle destiny if he's with 2 other Jawas and reduces your attrition by 3. You know, so he's gonna be great in a battle.
Okay, so there we have it. Our top 5 Jawas for all 3 of us. I would love to see some more top 5 lists on Jawas, like figure out like who's top 5 of each person has their list. Yeah, I definitely is definitely interesting. Like I think there's not enough Jawas in Star Wars. I mean, we see them. They're the first real alien that we see in Star Wars. They're like iconic, just like the look on them and everything. And the other thing that we have to talk about is you created a card, Devin.
I did.
How did you get the idea for this card?
I have to admit, the Book of Boba Fett made me care about
Tuscan Raiders.
Thank you. Made me care about Tuscan Raiders way more than I ever thought I could. I loved them so much because of that show. They're amazing. And I said, you know what? There is this Tuscan Raider that is just kind of hanging out.
Mm-hmm.
He's only allowed to shoot at pod racers, you know, at the pod race arena. He's almost a useless card, yeah, unless you have this a very exacting deck archetype to play.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, wow, what if we took that guy and gave him something else to shoot at? And honestly, the thing that came to mind immediately for me was the Senate, because I was constantly looking for cards that could shoot adjacently, with the idea of like, if I
Mm-hmm.
initiate a battle here, maybe I can shoot into the Senate and kill off the senators from next door. And obviously you can't really deploy this guy to the Senate, but that was my original inspiration for him. It's like, hey,
Awesome.
let's give him something to shoot at. And I'm very, very proud of that card. It came out brilliantly. I had some fantastic people behind the scenes who helped me develop it. And yeah, brilliant.
It's a great card. It's a great card. I've had multiple conversations arguing with people about Roar being the best thing ever. It's amazing.
It doesn't add anything, but it's
Yeah.
thematically correct, right?
Yeah. And like, I feel like that's a thing that because we can't have lore, so
right.
having these little bits of mechanical things that it's like technically a mechanic, even if it doesn't add it, but then it gives that card flavor. That's what separates us from the dinosaurs. Like, it's an amazing card. It's like,
if only they had Roar on their card games, they would have survived.
it's what I mean. It's oh man, it's easily my favorite card of the last year to be designed.
Well, that's high praise. I appreciate that. Thank you.
It's by a country mile. It is my great shame that I have not physically built my EPP Tuscan Raider deck, even though it's really bad. But like, I got bad players to play against. I should build it and then play against those players.
You know what what this means, Kendall?
It's really fun to play with that build versus Travis's Gungans deck.
Kendall, It's time to give up your Content Creator of the Year award until you create the deck in person.
Well, I have the Carl hooked me up with like 20 Tuscan Raiders. It does occur to me that this one doesn't shoot pod racers, but the other one does shoot pod racers. So if you have both of them together, then they can shoot pod racers and not pod racers.
It's the one gotcha when you're designing cards, virtual cards. If you get the opportunity, the restriction they put on you is it must fit inside this box.
Yeah.
It can't be longer. You can't change the font size.
You gotta break the box once in a while.
You only have so much you can shove in there. So that was one of the sacrifices I had to make, was the ability to shoot at vehicles.
With player cards, they're more reluctant to break those guidelines, because all us players, we all want our cards to be crazy.
Right.
So we did talk. I just want to throw in the plug and throw it in the chat. We did talk a lot about the EPP Tuscan Raider on Bad Deck Breakdowns. We had Devin on. So if you want to hear us spend an hour talking about that amazing card, I did post the link in the chat. or those listening on YouTube, just go to kendallcast.ninja or the Bad Deck Breakdowns feed on the podcatcher of your choice.
And the deck you gave us to play with in that episode actually was a lot of fun. Yeah. I remember that deck. Yeah, I think a little bit more development. Not unlike the Jawas. You get a couple more really good Tuscans on the table. You could have some amazing decks and have a lot of fun with those.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like if there were just a few more good cards, then it would be a good deck. But it's definitely not there now.
Okay, so before we go, I think it's time we got to do a trivia challenge with Devin. And I think this one's going to be kind of fun. I mean, I always say that. So, but that's besides the point. So, Devin, you're going to have 45 seconds.
Oh boy.
To name me all of the Jawas, the virtual Jawas.
The virtual ones?
The virtual ones. Okay.
How many do we get to know how many there are?
Nope.
Okay.
So that's going to be part of the fun for me. So I'm going to put 45 seconds
all right,
on the clock.
So I'm not going to look at, I won't cheat. I'm not going to look at Scump.
Kendall, you are his lifeline.
Okay.
So you can support him. So your time starts now.
All right. So there's Off-World Jawas, Arctic Hui, Gero has a virtual. I feel like there's another one out there, but I don't remember it. What do you think, Kendall? Is there a fourth?
I think it's just those three.
I think it's just that. Yeah, you might be right.
You're short.
A short of one? Oh no.
No, you're short more than one.
More than one.
Does Abed have one?
So you have said.
Oh, is there a virtual version of the base Jawa?
No.
No, right. There's just the two releases.
Is Khaled virtual?
Khalid?
Nope. I'll give you a hint. Okay? Because the timer is up. I'll give you guys one hint.
Okay.
One of them we already talked about. It was on one of your lists. Matter of fact, going back, it was on, I believe, Kendall's list.
Thank God it wasn't mine.
Well, we said Gero and Off-World Jawa already.
Gero, Off-World Jawa, and you said Ritik Hui. Okay?
Yeah.
So, one of them is from Kendall's list, and the other is from Premier.
Really?
And funny enough, two Jawas have been designed by the same person.
What?
Yeah.
You said it's from Premiere?
Yeah. Kendall.
I mean, there's a virtual.
What side of the Force is it from?
The Devin side. Kendall, think about your list, what you sent me over.
So it's one of the cards that I was. So it's the Hero of the Dune Sea or Khaled. But is the Hero of the Dune Sea, was he virtualized?
Yes, I'll give you that one.
Okay.
Need one more.
There's one more?
There's 5 of them total.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And
you said it's from
Premier, Devin's side of the Force.
Is it a legacy card?
No.
You got me.
I don't know.
Kendall?
I mean, I know that Utini and Jawa Blaster probably had, but I don't know of any Jawas by name.
Sorry, I want to actually see which set he's from.
Dacha.
Dacha.
Of course, Dacha.
Yeah. You were close. You guys were this close. Set 5 Dacha. Funny enough, Tom Marlin created him. He also helped create Gero. So Tom Marlin is a huge fan of Jawas. So, and then the Hero of the Dune Sea was created by Sean Kerr. Gero was also created by Ryan Jelson, and that's pretty much it.
Amazing.
So
yeah, I forget about Dothchess. I don't usually play him, but he does have a power, right? Yeah, you can pull from your reserve deck if you just deployed a droid, and if you do that suns down, nighttime conditions deck I was talking about, like he could be powerful.
He's a scavenger. Once per turn, if your droid just deployed to the same site, you can peek at the top 2 of your reserve deck, take 1 into hand. During a battle here, you may forfeit him or 1 non-permanent weapon droid to the use pile using forfeit equals 0 or forfeit equals 3.
I once had this game concept I tried out in the Jawa format, or the Utini format, which was basically going to be to put timer mines at every site to blow up. So I had to do it. You have to basically have a droid at every site, right? Because if your opponent can move, it defeats the whole thing. So you have to basically be very prepared and deploy those timer mines everywhere. And that could be a potent combination with Dothcha.
Definitely. Okay, so that's all we have for tonight. Again, I want to thank Kendall and Devin for coming on as our guests. Next week, we're going to be highlighting some of the retro leagues, so make sure you guys tune into those. So until then, go play online play, go play some Jawa, some Utinis, and as always, may the Force be with you. Good night, everybody.